Every time I fly back to Metro Manila, Philippines, I am overwhelmed by the vastness of the city. I often try to sit near a window so that I can see the lights. We often land at night or early in the morning, and I see the lights of the city that stretch all the way from Manila Bay to the hills and mountains on the eastern side of the city. And it's like an endless sea of lights representing millions of people. And as I fly in, I realize I am only one in a million, actually, as I come into the city. And I am overwhelmed with the great need of the gospel. You can't reach a city like that without having many leaders developed to help you impact such a vast city. Now, your city might not be as large as Metro Manila. Very few cities are. But in every city, there are thousands of people who desperately need the gospel. Even if you're in a city of, say, 5,000 people, it doesn't negate the fact that probably 90% of the people in your city are lost. That means that you have a vineyard of 4,500 people. How will you reach that? How you touch every person in that city? Well, you can only do it if you develop leaders in your ministry. And that brings us to the topic today of a healthy church intentionally develops leaders. Now, we must make the assumption that in every church, there needs to be more than one leader. That that God has gifted the church with people, and the leadership needs to be growing. And I believe that every church has more than one leader. I'm not saying more than one pastor, but another strong leader that God has brought to the congregation to stand and come alongside the leader that God has put in charge. Someone like a Jonathan, somebody like a Barnabas, somebody that will stand with the leader and help carry the load. You know, but the truth is that if we don't intentionally develop those leaders, then they will never present themselves. I will say this, that if you do not, as pastor or as a leader, intentionally develop the leaders around you, somebody will. Either there will be a strong personality in your church that likely will develop themselves as a leader and begin to co-opt the direction of the church and impact your leadership. Or it's possible that if you have come into leadership in a church, of already existing church, that there may be other cultural values that are impacting the development of the leadership of the church. And if you as pastor or as a church leader do not intentionally craft that culture, then it will be the culture that develops the leaders in the church without the direction of the pastor. I have to say that I have experienced both of those situations. And when I have not taken the time to intentionally develop the leadership around me, then the ministry becomes a lot more challenging and difficult. And so intentionality is critical. Now, let me just say this. Most church leaders who are voted into a church or have been assigned a leadership position often in the beginning focus all of their attention on gaining favor from the church and developing themselves as a leader. But I would propose to you that it's possible at the same time that you are gaining in your leadership, that you begin the process to intentionally develop leaders around you. Now, in our ministry in the Philippines, many of you are familiar with it. We had to develop leaders from nothing. We won people, we discipled them, baptized them, nurtured them, mentored them until they became leaders. And God has blessed us with many strong leaders. Now, it was a very intentional process, and we call it in our setting a leadership continuum. Well, that's an entire course that if you want to take, you can reach out and maybe participate in the next one that we do. But the reality is we don't have enough time to unpack all of the potential of what an intentional leadership development system is in your church. So what I would like to do is I'd just like to give you 4 simple steps to begin the process of intentionally developing leaders. 4 things that I think every pastor could do. First, make a list of potential leaders in my church. Spend time in prayer. Ask God to bring to your attention people within the congregation that he has selected to be a leader. Somebody that God may have his hand on, and somebody that is been gifted with the gift of administration. Remember that the church is a body, and God has given spiritual gifts to the body, and every church, regardless of size, has all of the spiritual gifts present, which means that within the body, that there are those that have the gift of administration or the gift of leadership. That means that they're there. We just have to identify them. So I'm going to say, make an actual list, write it down. And when you write it down, the first step is to begin praying over that list. Ask God to confirm in your heart how you should go about, if this is one of the right people that you should talk to, and get favor from God with that person. Plan initial vetting meetings. Consider that the potential leader in your church may not even be aware that he has a spiritual gift, or that God may be lifting him up in leadership. They may also be aware that they're a leader, but they may not be aware of the ultimate bandwidth or capacity that they have while being a leader. I challenge you, spend some time in prayer. Ask God to begin to open the person's heart, guide you to the right person, and help make that process all blessed by God's favor. When you meet with him, discuss the vision of the church. You want to cast a vision much larger than he has ever heard of or even imagined. You want to watch to see if this leader is inspired by this, if he gets excited about this, or when you share your vision, do you find that person giving you excuses of what could go wrong, presenting obstacles of what may not be able to be achieved? I mean, that will help you begin to vet this list and come up with the leaders that God truly is bringing to you. Now, refrain from asking for a commitment to the vision. This is not the right time. You are just looking for his responses in your casting of the vision. I would recommend have these meetings, these vetting meetings, over a meal in a casual setting. Also observe how the potential leader deals with the people around him. How does he treat the server at the restaurant? How does he handle himself when he comes in contact with other people? Observe his people skills and gauge whether he has the potential to be the leader that you want him to be. Once you are led by God to move forward, put the name of the leader on a short list and then continue the process until you have 2, 4, 6 potential leaders on your candidate list. First step, make a list. Second, schedule formal leadership training times. Now, there's a difference. I learned this years ago. There's a difference between working in the ministry and working on the ministry. There are many times that we as leaders get so caught up with the activity of the ministry that we fail to take the time to step back, take a look at the whole picture, look at the future, ask God to give us guidance. That's working on the ministry. So I challenge you to work on the ministry in this way, in intentionally develop leaders. Carve out time in your schedule to meet with your leadership candidates. Meet with them initially one-on-one. Now, I realize that everybody is busy. In fact, just recently, I was speaking to one of my team members, and they had been given the task to get a hold of somebody. And the answer that I got was, well, I tried to get a hold of him, but I know he's really busy. I said, no, wait. I said, don't offer an excuse for the other person. You shouldn't be giving an excuse yourself for your actions, but don't create an excuse for another person. Can we just say everybody's busy? You're busy. I'm busy. Everybody we know is busy. The only way we're going to be able to accomplish this is to carve out time to be intentional about developing a leader. So carve out the time. Begin an intentional series of meetings with your leader. Spread it out over 6 weeks, maybe every 10 days, something like that, and begin to meet with this person. Begin vetting the character, the thinking patterns of the candidate. Are there any issues in the past or in his current life that give you a red flag about his character? I always go through 3 things when I'm looking at people to bring on the leadership team. It's their character, it's their competence, and it's their chemistry. Looking at those 3 things to see if they fit into the whole organization. The best chemistry with people are relationships that work together, play together, laugh together, cry together, struggle together, and win together. Create times of interaction with the potential leader in your formal training time that displays those things. Time to have fun, times that you deal with issues that are painful maybe. All of these things have to do that. Find a task that you can do together. Share your own struggles. Be transparent. If you share your own struggles, observe the response of the leadership candidate. Does he seem judgmental? Does he seem curt? Is he, what kind of response is that? I would also suggest in the formal leadership is to bring the leader along when you face difficult situations. We want to see how that potential leader responds in difficult situations. I would suggest that you before you go to the meeting or face the situation, you discuss what you're going to face. Second, let him observe. Let him do that. Encourage him not to speak into it. He's just your companion. And then third, unpack the whole process a little later. Bring the candidate along. Learn this process. Prepare, execute, and download. Prepare for every situation, execute what you want to happen, and download. There's no benefit as a leader to surprise people. As a leader, I don't recommend that you be an enigma. You want people to know how you will respond. You want people to know about them to say, you know what, in this situation, I know Greg's not going to like this. We need to find something other to do because that is not going to align with the values and the perspective of our leader. If you plan to ask tough questions in a group or individually, you want to sit down with that person and help them prepare for that situation. Another principle in intentionally developing leaders as you do the formal training is, I call it model, model, model. Leaders watch other leaders. The leader you are intentionally develop is going to follow the way you behave. And so they will watch how you treat your wife, how you respond to your children, how you respond in difficult situations, if you frown, if you smile, if you're pleasant, if you're not, how you respond to people that you interact with just in passing. And they will begin to model and follow the model that you do. As a leader, you are always on the clock. People are going to observe how you behave in a difficult or stressful situation. So first, make a list. Second, carve out some time to formally train leaders. Third suggestion, journal your time with the candidates. Start a journal for this process. Record what has been done that's successful, where the failures are, what personality types the leaders that you are working with are, and keep that doing. Don't write a novel, but capture the essence of the emotion and the process that you're going through. Begin listing strengths and weaknesses of the candidate. Determine the spiritual gift of the candidate and record that. And then allow God to lead you as you pray and journal and read your Bible of how to move forward. So first, make a list. Second, create formal leadership training times. Third, keep a journal. And fourth, begin to assign responsibilities to the leadership candidate. Find some task, some responsibility, some job. Entrust that to the leader. Provide ample information, but not too much that you give instruction. You're not looking for a robot. You're wanting somebody who is a thinking leader that can help move the ball forward for you. You don't want to give the solutions. You want to give the path for him to find the solution. Allow the candidate to fail if necessary, and avoid having the candidate feel like they have failed and they want to quit. No, don't rescue them, but help them unpack what happened so that they can improve for the next time. I would say under assigned responsibilities, you must hold the candidate accountable. Set the desired outcomes. Give the candidate a deadline. Make sure that he understands that if you are doing this with him, that there is a required gain from this. And then help the candidate identify the necessary steps for him to be successful. The next step is to give increasingly difficult tasks with increasingly less instruction and oversight. You want to get to the point where if you're in a situation that comes up abruptly and your leadership candidate is beside you, all you have to do is lean over and say, what do you see about this? What do you notice about this? And they will begin to give you feedback, but it is feedback aligned with your values and your direction and vision for the church. And then lastly, under assigned responsibilities for the candidate, celebrate the wins together. Sometimes we get so busy that we don't take time to celebrate. And so you need to have times of celebration with your candidates so that you can continue to develop. In review, 4 things. You must make a list to start. Get the right candidates on the list. Second, schedule formal leadership training times. Carve out time in my schedule to accomplish this. Third, keep a journal. Journal what I'm learning from my candidates in the process. And fourth, begin assigning responsibilities to the candidate. I want to also take this time to invite you to LBU's upcoming Maximize Conference, May 20 and 21. Incredible time. We have a list of some great leaders that will be there. Dr. John Conrup will be at the meeting. We have Tim Adrian that will be at the meeting. We have Larry Maddox that will be at the meeting. We have a lot of interesting speakers that will be there. Our theme is maximize cities for the Great Commission. We want to inspire life in the cities. That's the first session. We want to impact global cities, a full emphasis on missions. We want to innovate so that we can accelerate the Great Commission in cities. And fourth, we want to influence, which means stretch our orbits so that we can include more people to be impacted in the cities that we minister to. You will not want to miss it. Just 2 days, overnight trip. You can do this May 20 and 21. We also are having some notable speakers like Dr. Eric Boone, a great pastor from South Chicago. Author Leonard Sweet will be with us with a special session on what the future church will look like for the 3rd millennium. It's coming up very soon. And then our speaker for our graduation is renowned pastor, founder of the Salem Baptist Church in Chicago. James Meek will be with us on our graduation, and also looks like the day before. You will want to be around these great leaders. I hope you can join us. God bless you.